honey, it's Mom. Did you know if we switch to Verizon, we can get 4 phones for $0 plus 4 lines for $25 a line? Call me back. Me again. That's just $100 a month for 4 lines on unlimited welcome, plus 4 phones, no trade-in needed. Call me. It's Mom. America's best network, Verizon. That's the one we're talking about. I'll send you a text.
America's best network based on Root Metrics' best overall mobile network performance, U.S. second half 2025. 4 new lines and unlimited welcome and autopay. See Verizon.com for details.
ID Tech is more than just the original and most trusted tech camp for kids ages 7 to 17. ID Tech is where kids find their people. The engineering and creating people. The fire-breathing, shell-spinning BattleBots people. The just as happy building games as they are playing them people. ID Tech offers over 50 epic courses, like Camp Crunch Labs IRL, BattleBots with Take-Home Bots, and more at 75 college campuses across the country. Visit idtech.com and use code IDTech to save $150 on a week that's guaranteed to be the highlight of your kid's summer.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Scary. If you're new here, my name is Will, and each week I narrate your real life paranormal experiences, as well as cover some famous paranormal cases along the way. But before we get into this week's episode, as always, I need to say a special thank you to our new Patreon subscribers, who are Linz, Keiki, Gleedre, Helen Cross, Jimmy Borstel, Audrey Reeder, and Emer Page. Thank you so much for signing up to the show's Patreon, and if this is something that you are interested in, you can find the link in this episode's show notes, or simply go to patreon.com/scaryaparanormalpodcast. Over there you can gain access to exclusive scary episodes as well as ad-free main episodes. But now, let's get into our next paranormal encounter. When I was only 4 years old, my family moved to a small house in a tiny town in the bottom of Idaho. I spent most of my childhood living in this house. There were a lot of reasons why I believed this house was haunted. As a young child, I never really noticed, but as I got older and started spending more time in the house alone and was unsupervised, I really started to notice how uneasy the house made me feel. It would get so bad that when I was home alone, I would turn on all the lights and turn on a show or some music just to block out any potentially scary sounds. Just something to distract myself from these uneasy feelings. I know I wasn't the only one that felt it. My little sister refused to go downstairs alone. She was way too scared. So much so that, believe it or not, we got a dog specifically for the purpose of helping my sister feel safe when she went downstairs. But it didn't help at all. While living in this house, my bedroom was switched around a couple of times. It started out in an upstairs bedroom with my little sister, and then it moved to the basement, and then ended up back upstairs with my sister again. Not all, but most of the things I experienced happened when I slept down in the windowless room. But in the upstairs room, when I was probably about 6 or so, I had my first paranormal experience. So I was asleep in my bed, and I woke up sometime in the middle of the night. I don't really know why. I don't know what woke me. But when I opened my eyes, I saw a woman in my room. She wasn't standing, rather floating in the corner near the ceiling. She looked like she was made from a mist. She faded into nothing from the waist down. She didn't do anything, and to be honest, I wasn't even a little bit frightened by her. Something about her was really calming, and I thought that she looked a little bit like my grandma. She had some of the same features as her. And eventually I fell back asleep, and in the morning I asked my parents if Grandma had died. I remembered them being really puzzled by my question and told me that Grandma was not dead. I think I told them I thought I saw a ghost in my room that looked like Grandma. As I got older, my sister and I stopped getting along. She was messy and obnoxious and tried to follow me around everywhere I went. Not to mention she was 6 years younger than me, so the difference in our maturity was immense. I was pretty desperate to escape her, and I begged my parents to let me sleep in the empty room downstairs. We had a room that we only used when we had guests, but this room wasn't technically considered a bedroom because it didn't have any windows. That room and the room right next to it always made me feel uneasy, but I was ready to escape my sister. I decided to be brave and I was going to move downstairs. So I get my way and I move into this room. One of the first weird things that happened in that room happened in the morning hours on a weekend. I had slept in and I remember I'd just woken up. So I'm laying there and I'm debating whether to go join my brothers or not. I could hear them in the other room playing on the computer. And as I lay there, I start to feel my bed moving beneath me. My kid brain immediately jumped to the possibility of a monster underneath my bed. But after a second, I realised I was being silly and it really must just be a little earthquake. Earthquakes here in Idaho aren't unheard of, but they're definitely not a common occurrence. So after the shaking stopped, I jumped out of bed to see if my brothers felt the shaking. So I rush in, I ask them, and they're confused. They didn't feel anything. It made my stomach drop. I was too afraid to go back in my room all day. I had definitely felt my bed moving underneath me. A couple of years later, another really weird thing happened. None of my siblings had alarm clocks, so Mom would come and wake us all up for school. I was always the last one up. Her room was the furthest away from mine. She would get my oldest brother and my little sister up first, and then she would come downstairs and wake up my two other brothers that shared a room, and then she'd come and get me. Because my room had no windows, I liked to sleep with the door open. It was just way too dark in there with the door closed. So when my mother would come to wake us up, I would almost always wake up to the hall light flipping on and blinding me. On occasions, my neighbour Adam, who was a family friend, would get dropped off at our house in the mornings because both his parents had to head to work before the school bus would come. It wasn't very often, but every now and then I would wake up and my friend Adam would be in the house. So one morning before school, Mom was waking us all up. When she got downstairs and flipped on the hallway light, I opened my eyes to see not my mother, but Adam standing in my doorway. So he's standing there and he's shouting at me, wake up, it's time to get ready for school. And I was a little groggy and shook up from the intensity of my friend waking me up like that, but I sat up and I climbed out of the bed. And just then my mother got to the end of the hall and looked in my room and said, "Oh good, you're up, it's time for school." I do remember feeling a little confused as why my mom felt the need to check that I was getting up just seconds after Adam had shouted at me, but I kind of shrugged it off. When I got upstairs and sat down to wait for the school bus to arrive, I was really confused. Where was Adam? He was nowhere to be seen, and I asked Mum where he had went, and that's when my mother told me that he wasn't here. He hadn't been dropped off by his parents that morning, and she hadn't seen him at all. He had never been in the house. It honestly made no sense to me. I remember going to school and finding Adam right away and asking him if he had been in my house earlier, and he said no. I still don't understand why I saw him there. If it was a ghost or entity, why would it appear to be someone I knew? I can still see him plainly standing in my doorway when I think back on that day. The next thing I experienced while living in that room happened in the middle of the night. I woke up and I was really thirsty. So I crawled out of bed and I started making my way upstairs to the kitchen to get a glass of water. Typically I was too scared to wander the house alone in the dark, but this night I didn't want to wake up anyone else with the lights, and also it was a full moon outside, so there was actually quite a bit of light coming in through the windows. So I walked down the hallway and I started into the TV room on my way to the stairs. But before I entered the TV room, I stopped dead in my tracks. There in the middle of the floor was a boy. He was young, he was probably 7 or 8, and he was sitting in this fetal position in the middle of the room, just looking at me. This freaked me out so bad. I was frozen, staring at him. I thought maybe it was just a balled up blanket at first that was left on the floor, and the light from the moon was just making it look like something it wasn't. But the longer I looked, the more sure I was that this was not a blanket, this was a boy. This boy wasn't physical. It was like he was made of a really fine material. To me, he just looked like he was constructed from a really fine dust. As odd as it sounds, that's what he looked like to me. I was so freaked out that I just turned around and went back to bed. I wasn't thirsty enough to go past this boy. The next morning I was desperate to check and see if there happened to be something in the TV room that could explain what I saw the night before. But honestly, there was nothing there. The floor was open and empty. There was no blanket or toys in sight. That was by far the creepiest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. So a handful of years later, my young brother was telling a story to his friends about a little dust boy that he saw in our TV room. But to be completely honest, I didn't really believe that he had seen the same boy as I had seen. I just figured that he was remembering me telling the story and it sticking with him so hard that he thought it had happened to him. But to this day, almost 12 years later, he still claims that he saw the boy too. Eventually I moved back upstairs with my sister, and my older brother got the windowless room for himself. I was sad to be sharing a room with my little sister again, but honestly relieved because I genuinely felt safer upstairs. It didn't stop me experiencing things. One night when I was about 13, I had a dream. I was at school in the cafeteria and a friend of mine was telling me about these little bumps that she gets on her arm that never went away. And in the dream, I told her that I had those little bumps too, and I offered to let her feel my arm. So she reaches across the table as if she was going to feel my arm, but rather than reaching for my arm, she reached straight out as if she was trying to grab my face. And it was like my dream suddenly paused and she was just reaching towards my face, and that's when I realised that I wasn't dreaming. I had opened my eyes, and in real life there was someone standing right by my bed, reaching directly for my face. This person was really clear to see. Behind them was the window, and the light always shone through that window because there was a street lamp just outside. My immediate reaction was to hide under the covers. My heart was racing so fast, I could hear it in my ears, and I just knew that this person was going to grab me at any second. But of course nothing happened. I just stayed under the covers for the rest of the night, and eventually at some point I fell asleep. In the morning, once again, there was nothing there to explain the thing I had seen the night before. We later moved out of the house to a bigger, nicer house about 15 minutes away. When we moved, we were still in the same school district, so life didn't really change that much at all. I did know one of the kids from the family that bought our house, but we weren't friends or really even acquaintances. So one day at school, we're all gathered in the gym for assembly, and I sat down near my friend, and near us was the boy who now lived in my old house. And he pretty much immediately turned and started talking to me, and he said, "Your house is haunted." And I told him I pretty much knew that after living there for 10 years. And he immediately started into a story about his most recent experience in the house. And he tells me he was downstairs and he saw a little boy sitting in a fetal position in the middle of the room. And I asked him, did he look like he was made out of like dust? And he freaked out and said, "Yeah. Did you see him too?" And I ended up telling him about my encounter with that boy, and we were both so freaked out that we had the exact same experience. And after that day, I started to believe my little brother. I think all three of us saw that same boy on 3 separate occasions. I never looked into the history of the house or looked for reasons why any of this happened, but I still think about it often, and I even end up back in that house in my dreams frequently. I haven't experienced a single other thing that I would consider paranormal since moving out of that house, and as interesting as I think the paranormal is, I am grateful to have left it behind. Much prefer the comfortable and safe feeling in our other house. Thank you to Emilie for sending in her paranormal experiences. You know, reading your experience, it did make me wonder whether this boy who you were saying appeared like he was made from dust was some sort of not fully materialised apparition. Or maybe that's why he was appearing in such a strange way. And now, let's get into our second paranormal experience. At the beginning of COVID, my boyfriend and I had just moved into a flat in Bridgenorth High Street in Shropshire. It was an old Tudor building with these large wooden beams, and it had a fireplace which had been covered up. We lived on the top floor, and an old lady lived below us, and below her were shops. It was quirky and cosy. It had a lot of character. You could hear the hustle and bustle of the town below and the market stalls and buskers on the weekend. It was a cool place to live. I experienced what I thought was sleep paralysis. I was in bed. I'd already been asleep and it must have been at around 1 a.m. I remember waking up to the sound of a noisy floorboard. There was a spot by the bathroom that had a loud creak when you stood on it. And from that area near the bathroom, it sounded like slow footsteps coming towards the bed. I didn't actually see anything, but in my mind I had a really clear image, and it's a bit stereotypical, of an older woman in a dark coloured dress coming slowly towards the bed. And in my mind, her face was pale and gaunt, and she felt like she was Edwardian or early Victorian. And I also had this image of a large hat as if she was dressed up for an occasion, like it was for a funeral or something. So I feel like this woman was coming towards the bed and looking down at us. I do remember trying to call out my partner's name, and I was trying to say James, but I couldn't talk or I couldn't make a noise. My eyes were open, but my body was stuck down as if someone was pushing on my chest and throat. My heart was pounding. I couldn't move or talk. It was just the thought of what she was going to do to me. Eventually I was able to make a noise and I woke James. And when I came around, he said he didn't hear anything at all. So I assumed this had all been a scary dream. Then the very same experience happened again a few weeks later. The exact same lady, the same footsteps, same paralysis experience. And I put it down to being freaked out by the first time, so must have been thinking about it and was repeating what had happened to me the first time. However, a few other things happened. One morning, I remember James being in the shower and him jokingly shouting, "Go away, what are you doing lurking outside the bathroom?" I was actually in the kitchen at the time, nowhere near the bathroom. He said that he was convinced he heard someone right outside the bathroom door. I used to practice yoga and stretching in the living room, and from there you could see a small corner by the bathroom where we had those funny experiences. There was a mirror on the wall, and I was always so apprehensive to look in that direction when I was doing my stretches. It just felt like there was somebody over there watching. I was genuinely afraid that I was going to see that lady's face in the reflection. One thing that really freaked out my partner, he's usually very sensible, down-to-earth guy. He doesn't believe in ghosts or God or the devil or anything. So one night we're in bed and we're talking, we're chatting away, and James's face switched from laughing into what I would describe as pure fear. On the other side of the room to my right was the bedside table with a mirror, and James swore that he saw a dark greyish coloured hand waving in the mirror. He said the fingers were quite long and it was like the person was wearing gloves. And like I said, he's not a believer in ghosts up until that night, and he's still quite terrified of mirrors now. I always tease him about the hand in the mirror, but he never finds it funny. It didn't necessarily feel threatening. We eventually got on with it and had a laugh about the whole thing. And one day, we bump into the man whose mom lived below us. He would come regularly to see his mom to help her with shopping. And he used to live in our flat before moving out to start a family. So we bump into him. He says, "How's things going? Are you settling in?" And then he said, "Have you seen the lady by the bathroom yet?" That was quite freaky, considering I hadn't even seen her, but the exact image of who she was. And when talking to the guy and he described her, it was exactly how I imagined her. Nothing nasty ever happened to us there, and I do miss that flat. We made some amazing memories there. It was just a bit freaky at times. Thank you to Dani for sending in their paranormal experience. And don't forget, if you have your own paranormal experience that you'd like me to narrate on the show, you can send it to scaryaparanormalpodcast@gmail.com, and it just might get made into a future episode. Before I go, I just want to say thank you for bearing with me. I know last week there was no main episode, and the reason for that is I suffer, as some of you may know, with a chronic illness, and last week the energy levels were not there. I know I don't have to explain myself, but there is people that do listen to this podcast each week, and I love that you do, but I did feel like I needed to address it, and that's the reason why. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. Don't forget to hit that follow button so you don't miss any future episodes. And please do tell a friend if you think that they would also enjoy this podcast. Thank you for listening, and join me next time for another episode of Scary.
ID Tech is more than just the original and most trusted tech camp for kids ages 7 to 17. ID Tech is where kids find their people. The engineering and creating people. The fire-breathing, shell-spinning BattleBots people. The just as happy building games as they are playing them people. ID Tech offers over 50 epic courses, like Camp Crunch Labs IRL, BattleBots with Take-Home Bots, and more at 75 college campuses across the country. Visit idtech.com and use code IDTech to save $150 on a week that's guaranteed to be the highlight of your kid's summer.
Hey, honey, it's Mom. Did you know if we switch to Verizon, we can get 4 phones for $0 plus 4 lines for $25 a line? Call me back. Me again. That's just $100 a month for 4 lines on unlimited welcome, plus 4 phones, no trade-in needed. Call me. It's Mom, America's Best Network, Verizon. That's the one we're talking about. I'll send you a text.
America's Best Network based on RootMetrics Best Overall Mobile Network Performance, U.S. second half 2025. 4 new lines and unlimited welcome and auto pay. See Verizon.com for details.
Okay, caller 1 wins courtside seats to tonight's game.
What? I won floor seats?
You did.
I've been calling for 13 months.
Wait, Chris?
Yes, I finally did it.
What are you going to wear?
Men's Warehouse. They've got today's looks for any occasion, and I need to look like a celebrity.
Don't want to stick out.
Exactly. They've got Chill Flex by Kenneth Cole, Joseph Abboud, and a tailor at every store for the perfect fit.
Congrats. You can stop calling now.
Not a chance.
Get any look for every occasion at Men's Warehouse. Love the way you look.
Hey, honey, it's Mom. Did you know if we switch to Verizon, we can get 4 phones for $0 plus 4 lines for $25 a line? Call me back. Me again. That's just $100 a month for 4 lines on unlimited welcome, plus 4 phones, no trade-in needed. Call me. It's Mom, America's Best Network, Verizon. That's the one we're talking about. I'll send you a text.
America's Best Network based on RootMetrics Best Overall Mobile Network Performance, U.S. second half 2025. 4 new lines and unlimited welcome and auto pay. See Verizon.com for details.
Hi, Diva. It's Rachel.
And Jordan. Yeah, hi. Quick question.
Why are you not spending your Venmo balance?
Yeah, we're concerned.
You can, buy stuff with it.
Ugh, you love buying stuff.
And earn cash back on eligible purchases.
You love purchasing eligible things.
So the money your friend sent you yesterday, that's today's ramen or rideshare or eye patches.
The skincare kind, not the pyro kind.
Spend with Venmo, then you can earn cash back with Venmo Stash. Venmo Stash bundle terms and exclusions apply. Max $100 cash back per month. See terms at venmo.me/stash terms. ID verification required to use a Venmo balance.
And Doug. There's nowhere I wouldn't go to help someone customize and save on car insurance with Liberty Mutual, even if it means sitting front row at a comedy show.
Hey everyone, check out this guy and his bird. What is this, your first date?
Oh, no. We help people customize and save on car insurance with Liberty Mutual together. We're married. Me to a human, him to a bird.
Yeah, the bird looks out of your league anyways.
Get a quote at libertymutual.com or with your local agent.
Liberty, 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 liberty.